Alright, hello and welcome to my music review YouTube channel, which I started quite drastically today with the release of a massive hit album last night being Thank You Next, which was just a hugely, published and publicized album. A lot to talk about regarding it because especially, the whole Pete Davidson thing and a little lesser thought about, but the Manhattan bombings and all that. Ariana Grande has had a really big career leading up to this point. And I think Thank You Next was this massive moment for her career, and it's very interesting to see how it's going, especially as surprisingly an Ariana Grande fan myself. I was very interested to see what would happen with this album, and what we ended up seeing was actually quite incredible. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and give it a rating of a 4 out of 5 stars. Thank You Next was a grand slam of an album, which was just light years away from Sweetener, which, don't get me wrong, was a solid album, but didn't really feature that that high level that this album has, even with the Pharrell backtrack on that. It was a strong album, don't get me wrong, but this takes the cake. It really does. It's a high moment in her career for sure. And there are some really, really strong albums on this. And especially, when we saw tracks like Thank You Next and Seven Rings being released, overall I was concerned it wouldn't be. And looking back, I realized I had no reason for that, actually. It was very, very impressive. And I'm really happy, actually. You wouldn't think I am, but it was a really good job. And especially, it had that darker, more lo-fi tone. It really felt like she's progressed and matured a lot, really, since, that last album. And a lot has changed, and it was really good. It's really impressive, actually. I think, yeah, these darker tones and lines to it, and her production quality is, of course, immaculate. It's incredible. Her singing ability and her tone is an incredibly wide range. She's able to cover a lot of abilities. And especially, I think it's very topical, especially in 2019, presidential things and the like have always got people kind of stirred up about those type of things. To use, these dark lo-fi tones, we saw it with Joji previously and a lot of other artists, I think was really good. Personally, some of my favorite tracks on the record include the tracks Ghosting, Needy, and Fake Smile. And probably my favorite, and one that seems to have gone under the radar, is Bad Idea, which is just a really strong track. It's got a solid groove line to it, a really good bass, and this just very interesting line from Ariana Grande going. And I like it overall. It's really strong and well done. If I had to pick some least favorite tracks, and yeah, there are a few, that doesn't mean that they're not the worst tracks ever. They're just don't really play to my tastes too well, is probably Bloodline and Seven Rings. Bloodline mostly because it just doesn't fit the tone of the album, and I understand that she wanted probably a more poppy thing that could hit high records and that type of thing, and develop a really good sense of the album just being a powerhouse that it is. And I get that. I really do. I think that it makes sense to release a track like that. But personally, just in the feel of the album in general, I don't really appreciate it. And then the other track, obviously, being Seven Rings. Seven Rings was, I don't know, I wasn't too impressed by it. And I get that, it was also released as promo and designed in a similar sense to Bloodline. Which I'm surprised we didn't see Bloodline as a promo, actually, looking back. But when you think about it, Seven Rings, the problem that I have with it is, yes, it does fit the track from a sonic perspective, that it does have these similar, flows and narrations that go with the rest of the album. It doesn't have the prefixes that some of these other ones did, and everything that makes it really feel like a part of the album. But the thing that I had a problem with was that her lyrics came across as kind of braggish and self-righteous a little bit. And obviously, Ariana Grande is trying to put herself in this power queen-esque position, I would say, where she's trying to kind of go Beyonce grand. And I don't know about that. I definitely prefer mature Ariana over the non-mature side. The childishness we would see in earlier on lives, with the Jessie J song and that type of thing. And so I definitely love the maturity of it. And just, again, production was incredible. And probably my favorite thing about it is that she restricts herself. It's not all vocalization. It's not all this grandeur that she often seemed to possess, especially, the ex-Disney stars. So it's funny. It's the black makeup and all of that, and every on the cover and everything, and the whole trash that was a lead up to this. I mean, one, it matured her as an artist, incredibly so, and it comes through on the topical themes of this track, especially I think like the early phone call things of like loved ones and that type of thing being like we're worried about you. It focuses on these more advanced themes, which I really appreciate. And again, this darker tone. Overall, this reminds me of like some past interviews we've seen with Ariana Grande, where she's like, I'm waiting for my train wreck, and I find that funny because I think "Thank You Next" is a little bit like her train wreck. Like, it doesn't sound right when you think about it, but like she kind of talks about how like all these Disney stars had like these train wrecks and that type of thing. That's how they became famous, and that's also a place where she's from herself. It makes sense for her to actually talk about it like that, and I do like it in that sense. It's this train wreck album which shows like these bad sides of her and these real issues she's dealing with, and especially in a society which is really trying to figure out like musically especially, where they really stand on like mental health and anxiety and that type of thing. And I think we're starting to realize the support going to those movements, and that comes through in the music as well, is that these real mental issues. I think especially I can't confirm it's Mac Miller, but the like visual boyfriend that's like in her dreams and that type of thing. Another theme you see throughout the album, of like this like fake boyfriend, so to speak, that's like this manifestation of her thoughts and like what she remembers, is like nostalgic idealism, which I really appreciate. And I think it's a very interesting and advanced theme to look at, especially for such a young artist. Really, it's surprising, and overall, yeah, I think it's a great track. I think it's a great album. 4 out of 5 for sure. It's not perfect, but it's definitely getting there, and a really strong record overall, which is surprising, especially coming from me. I'm not really a big pop fanboy, and I'm not probably going to be like talking about pop as much as I am about like hip hop, R&B, and those type of genres, especially just with like a lot of very good powerhouse artists in those genres right now. But for a pop record, yeah, this is probably one of the best we're going to see this year, and especially this huge release. This is the first powerhouse album that we've seen from this year so far, and overall, yeah, it's a really strong album. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my review. If you would like to see anything else, you obviously go down to the comments, drop a like, subscribe, la da 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 da. You've heard the rest. But no, I'm very excited to be starting this channel, get this whole thing going. I hope you all enjoy the content and that type of thing. Let me know what you're going to be doing. There's going to be multiple different series, obviously, and that type of thing. I'm really excited to expand on music review and talk about theory and the things I enjoy in music, because I think there's a lot to be understood and divulged. Artistic expression is a very important part of our culture, and especially in a day and age where really music is probably the biggest way we consume culture. It's very important to see pieces like Thank You Next. And sure, we don't look at it like that. We look at it as another pop star release, and sometimes that has a negative connotation. Sometimes that has a, hey, I'm going to listen to it because it's what's on the radio connotation. But it's good to analyze these things, and especially, Ariana Grande having to deal with these feelings around the Pete Davidson breakup and that type of thing. And then especially, and I think a lot of people forget about that, the West Manhattan situation when the Manchester bombing happened at her concert. It was a really important moment, and overall, you can tell that she's developed as an artist, and I think that's really awesome. I'm hoping to see how that goes in the future. Anyways, that's all for what I'm going to talk about today, and I hope, like I said, hope you enjoyed. We're going to be doing a lot more of this in the future. I'm very excited. All right, great. Have a nice day.